Hi everyone, welcome to Kate and Arijit Spiritual Sector, where we will be more talking about connecting the spirituality with the corporate world. And what we are going to explore, we are going to explore together few bit of those epic stories, those mythological stories, and which is there in the ancient world. And people feel that ancient means that is old, and we really don't need to learn anything from there. But what we are going to do in a couple of our series of talks, we are going to explore what we can learn from all those stories, all those incidents, and then take a decision in our corporate life. So, Kate, how are you doing?
I am very well. Let me say Zen. How are you, Arijit?
I'm doing perfectly fine. So Kate is actually right now from South Korea. She traveled to USA and a couple of other countries, learned a little bit of knowledge, which is, of course, way beyond my own wisdom, which I have. I have got a very limited number of wisdom, but Kate is full with astronomical knowledge and creativity and connecting the dots in the real world. And Kate, I guess that today we are going to discuss more about an interesting concept. In today's world, lot many of us feel that there are demons, and if we look at the demons, if we look at those characters who are probably looks like black with long teeth, with various different kind of jazzy dresses, and these guys are probably going to kill the humanity. On the other side, if you look at the other kind of people whom we treat as demigods, they always look like fair with red chicks, and they are treated as good people. But if you look at a character which is like a little bit of, from normal person's opinion, looks like ugly, they are actually the demons, and ugly means their color is different, and definitely they eat human beings. So that's the kind of concept that we have. If we talk more about asuras, demons, rakshasas, probably ghosts, and a couple of other things. And today, what I'm going to pick up, I'm going to pick up a character from the epic story, which is in today's India's one of the largest and well-spoken story. And from that story, we are going to take a character called Ravana, whom was treated very, very badly in at least in Indian epic stories. But when I talk about India, Kate, I would love to discuss probably more about what is Ramayana and how India became India. So it was not at all about India. It was more of about Sindhu culture. Long back, this land was different. And the entire land was not at all treated as India. India is actually a given name. It used to be Bharatvarsh once upon a time from a king called Bharat. That Bharat as a king, he had a big kingdom, and that kingdom actually spread it towards Afghanistan, Kazakhstan, towards extreme Asia, which is touching the China border. And somehow, if we look at those beyond kingdom kind of structure, on those days, the yuga was different. I'll be taking a little bit of small Sanskrit names. Please pardon me for that, Kit. So those days were different, but somehow, Kate, I'll be more than happy if you really want to ask a question to me regarding those kind of cultures, those kind of structures that we have, and then maybe I can move forward.
I'd like to know the name of the former India. What is the historical name?
Bharatvarsh.
Okay. And did the land cover bigger than India?
Current India? Of course.
Amazing. Amazing. And so the character we're studying today is Ravana.
Ravana, right.
Ravana. Right. Could you guide us with the story of Ravana and how it's related to the Ramayana?
Of course. So Ramayana is more of a story of practically the upliftment of Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, and Shatrughna, who are four brothers in a kingdom called Ayodhya. In today's world, Ayodhya is in a different location, which is nearby our borders of India. But let us not dig into that. Let us dig into this character who was treated as demon in the epic story. But I'll talk a little bit about this character. Dashanan as a character. Dashanan was the real name of Ravana. Dashanan as a character was the greatest Brahmin of that entire era. Brahmin means who was treated as the topmost person in the entire planet. And he was wise, he was strong, he was a fighter, he was a scientist, he was a musician, and he had got 8 different qualities of an amazing human being. But what happened? Why we treat him as a demon? Let me take you back towards the story how Dashanan took birth. Dashanan is actually coming from a race which is actually called in Sanskrit as Rakshasas. Rakshasa means who used to protect the kind of an element which is probably a drink of god and goddess. And from there, they got this name called Rakshasas, from protectors or associates, right? But in that race, there was a gap of a person who can lead the race. So the grandfather of Dashanan, he decided that let me marry my daughter with one of the rishis. Rishis are basically the kind of person who is spiritually connected with the mortal world. They can travel, they could have traveled between the immortal world towards mortal world, as well as they are pretty well connected with the supreme god and goddess. So with that note, his grandfather took a decision that they will do a Gandharv Vivah with his daughter. And that's how Dashanan took birth to rule their own race. He was wise, as I told you. And as I told you, he was a devotee of Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva in Indian epic, Kate, is treated as the destructor of negative elements. So if you look at the Indian structure, we have 3 main god and goddess. One is Shiva, the destructor of negative elements, protector as Vishnu, and creator as Brahma, and Mahamaya, who is a lady who is controlling the entire universe. So I'm not going towards that. Let me come back to Ravana as a character. What happened in Ramayana time? I'll tell you the story and then probably I'll explain what happened. So Ravana used to rule the southern part of Indian continent, and in today's world probably it was Sri Lanka as a kingdom. But he took that kingdom from another person called Kubera, who was a demigod. It was a fair fight, and he took that kingdom from Kubera and started ruling that kingdom. In his kingdom, Lanka became prosperous. He had a younger sister called Surpanakha. The name is like sharp nails. She was also a beautiful lady. While traveling towards the jungle, Rama, Sita, and Lakshman, they were in a different journey altogether. It was said that Ravana kidnapped Sita, who was wife of Rama, and while he kidnapped her, he kept Sita in Ashok Kanan, which was basically a beautiful garden in Lanka as a kingdom. While doing all those kind of activity, that whatever he was doing, he was eventually building a path to touch the adobe from earth. So looks like an epic story, but he was building a kind of structure which can give humankind an option to go towards somewhere in between the planets. And it was half built. Now, Kate, when you said that the name called Ravana, how did he got this name as Ravana? How we treat him as a demon character. I'll just tell you the story, right? Then let's explain the character. When Ravana's mother was a little bit of ill and she wanted to visit Shiva, she couldn't walk properly. So Ravana thought that let me go to Shiva and ask him to come with and visit her mother. Ravana was down towards Kailash, and Kailash was actually the place where Lord Shiva used to stay. It was a huge, long mountain. And from the down part, he started chanting of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva was not listening to him. And Ravana thought that, okay, fine, if he is not listening, let me take Kailash in my own back, because my mom, she wanted to see Shiva in her last breath. So Ravana started moving that mountain, right? And Lord Shiva just smiled, and he just put a little bit of pressure with his finger, and with that pressure, Ravana shouted like anything. It was a huge shout, and that shout is named as Ravana. From that Ravana, Dashanan got the name called Ravan, and Lord Shiva gave him boons. And at that time, Ravana actually created Shiva Stotra, and that Shiva Stotra in today's time, Kate, many people enchant to please Lord Shiva as God. That character somehow took Sita. That was the only problematic factor into the entire story. And why he kidnapped her, I'll tell you that background story. Surpanaka was dwelling in that jungle, and she got affected, and she really started attracted to Lord Rama. Lord Rama was married. In that time, one person can marry more than one woman. Okay, but Lord Rama was devoted towards Sita only, Sita as his wife. So Surpanaka expressed her love towards Rama and said that, I want to marry you. Rama denied, and he said that I just don't want to marry you because I have got wife. Maybe you can talk to my brother Lakshman. He is alone in this jungle, and maybe he can say yes. Lakshmana was also a married person, but his wife was in the kingdom because they left that kingdom. I'll tell you that story later on today's discussion point of Ravana actually. So when Surpanaka expressed her affection that let me be your wife, Lakshmana said no, and Surpanaka got furious. She was a princess. By rejecting that part from a person, she thought that because of that lady Sita, both of them are denying me. So she thought that she will be attacking Sita with a ferocious speed and strength that she had got. So Lakshmana threw his knife and chopped off Surpanaka's nose and ears. Surpanaka go back to her kingdom, shouting and crying, told her elder brother Ravana, who is the king of Lanka, that two humans chop off my nose and my ears. With that note, Ravana thought that this is not done. Let me take a revenge. So he went back to that jungle, kidnapped Sita to teach these two men a lesson. But that started a big war, one of the biggest war in that time. Ravana and Lakshman, they handshaked with Sugriv. It's a long story. I'll make it very, very short. They started attacking Ravana, but they couldn't win the fight. What happened in between? Ravana's one of the brother, Vibhishan, he left the kingdom and joined Rama. And he started telling all those things which they are supposed to know to win the battle. In the sense, how they can attack the kingdom, where all the loopholes are there. Ravana was literally immortal with the boon of Shiva. So Bibhishan told him that if Rama can hit Ravana's muzzle point, then only he will die. But to do that, to get that weapon, he needs to worship Devi Durga. Durga is another supreme power who is a lady. Now, when he started that puja, that yajna, Kate, it's interesting point. Rama needs to complete that yajna, but that time to do that ritual, the only person who can do that with that level of connectivity with the spiritual world was Ravan only himself. So Rama had a discussion with Ravana and asked for his help. Look at this character now. Now understand this character, Ravana. Okay, Rama is his enemy. He's attacking his kingdom. With this fight, Rama asking Ravana, can he become the person to please Devi Durga and complete the entire ritual? Okay, Ravana said, let it be. If you are asking for a help as a king, I should help you. As a human being, I should help you. But what is the purpose of this entire yajna that you're doing? Rama said, I want to kill you. I want to kill Ravana. And Ravana smiled and said, that's not a problem. It's okay. He did that. He did that entire ritual, and Lord Rama got the strength and power and the weapon to kill Ravana. And definitely, with all those notes that Vibhishana gave, not only that, Vibhishana actually took Lakshman towards the kingdom as well to kill Ravana's son as well. Okay, in a improper fight where Meghnad, who is the son of Ravana, was doing a normal ritual with their god and goddess. He was weaponless, but in that fight, because in war everything is fair, they killed Meghnad. And after that, definitely Ravan was killed. Sita was there with Rama and Lakshman. They came back. The kingdom was given to Vibhishana so that he can rule the kingdom. That's probably the end of story that we know. But if you look at this character, a character who knew that this ritual is done because with this ritual, the weapon will come to kill himself. He was super proud. Maybe yes. Maybe you can explain. He was a great king. Maybe yes. He was a normal, proper human being who wanted to help another human being. Maybe yes. He was treated and betrayed by his brother. Definitely yes. So now this floor is yours, Kate. If you really want to explain this character to the audience, it will be great.
Yeah, exceptional, Ardit. I'm following the logic and the sequence of the story, and I had a look at the story as well. So you told it beautifully. And as we're talking about the Ravana, the character from Ramayana, I found 10 qualities that exude and personifies Ravana according to Sadhguru. And they are kama, lust, krodha, anger, moha, delusion, lobha, greed, mada, pride, matsarya, envy, buddhi, intellect, manas, mind, chitta, will, and amankara, ego. And what I take away from these 10 characters, it's called 10 heads of knowledge. This is what we all have as a human being. We have this in our sort of a backpack until I, myself, or you address them one by one. Lust, anger, delusion, greed, pride, envy, intellect, mind, will, ego. In your story about Ravana, when Ramanan asked him for help so that Ramanan can kill the Ravana himself, I think you tied that to a possibility this Ravana had too much pride. It could be, or too much ego. Maybe he was not in, he didn't believe it. We don't know. However, what Sadhguru and I also advocate is that since everybody has these qualities, and when we're interacting in the business world, and I see my colleagues' quality of anger comes up, it is my responsibility to not judge this person, but rather witness the anger that arises from this person. So we're sort of judging the characteristics of the 10 heads, but not the person. So the moral of the story of Ravana, as you told, is that excessive pride, excessive ego, it will terminate us, all of us. And even when I look at it in business world, I've certainly been there before and it didn't serve me. And I think the moral of the story, we can all learn from Ravana as our teacher, our spiritual teacher, whether we, the historically depicts him as an evil or evil, it is that evil is really in us. And according to psychology, this is called shadow. Carl Jung talks about it. The more we don't look at our own lust, our own delusion, our own super inflated ego, then this is going to hunt us. So that's the story I took away from your beautifully sequenced historical evidence of this mythology.
This is an epic. This is basically an epic, not mythology. This is epic. And when we look at this epic, I'm really happy that you have read about it. But to be very honest, Ramayana as a story is so old that there are lot many versions of this Ramayana. If you look at the southern part of today's India or in Sri Lanka, Ramayana story is different. Because for them, Ravana was the king, right? And in southern part, they treat Ravana as a god. Now, if we look at the northern part of India, Ravana was definitely a demon, a person who is depicted as negative element. If you go towards Thailand, you will find that there is a Ramayana written and depicted in the walls of their temples. For there, the Ramayana is different. The storyline is a little bit of different. Now, when you talk about all those qualities, last in Sanskrit is called Kam, Krodh, Love, Moh, and Matshariya. You are right. Now, these are the qualities which actually drag someone down. Agreed. But to be very honest, I have a serious question. Whatever you look at towards Ravana, Ravana was not under the pressure of these 5 elements of life. No. I really don't know what Sadhguru said because I am not follower of him, but I'm a follower of avid proper writings in Sanskrit and Pali. I have serious doubt that he was under the impression of these 5 things, elements of life. If I look at him as a person in corporate world, in many cases, Kate, as a founder, probably you have created your company, but as a CEO, you need to take a lot many decisions which are not very good for common people. You cannot be a good person when you are running business, which is a large organization. For some people, you are great. For some people, you are okay. For some people, you are bad. Everyone in this mortal world is bad in someone else's dictionary. Do you agree on that?
I agree. Yeah.
So when you run a company as a CEO, you need to take care, you need to understand who is the Bibhishan in your company. If you have that person who is probably close to you, but knows all your issues through which someone can enter into your company and probably sabotage that, let us be very, very careful about that. That's the one thing probably we should learn. Yeah, please.
There was a news in Elon Musk's company, Tesla. There was an internal person who worked for the company hijacked some of the information. I think that's what you're talking about. We have to be careful. But the wisdom as a CEO, we need to be really wise about discerning these types of character in our organization. How do you do it?
Well, if you ask me, the way I do it is actually I decentralize the entire system, and I act as a water, to be very honest. I will once again explain what do I mean as act as a water. When I'm acting as a water, I'm a total calm and quiet person. I listen to everyone. I don't react the way anger does. I don't become angry. I try to maintain the balance, and to maintain balance, sometimes I need to do a couple of things which is not, again, good for some people. But when I'm acting as a water, I am your reflection. So the way you will be reacting with me, you will get the same similar kind of reflection of yours. Now, it depends on you whether you like it. So you will see your mirror. So if you are dealing really odd to me, you will get the same odd as a reflection. So you will see your own mirror. So if you don't like that reflection, that means you are not doing good. That's the way I am running the entire multiple different organizations. I give them power, I give them empowerment, keeping the loop within myself, right? I don't control, I don't want to control. I let them control, I let them win. And when you ask people to let them win, they usually do it by virtue of love and passion. And Kate, when I recruit, I take a lot of time, to be very honest. Lot many people can say that, okay, fine, you go for hire and fire kind of concept. We don't do that. When we take people in a very, very sophisticated kind of position, we take our time. We understand that person first, then their skill set and their strength. I don't ask any fish to climb on the top of a tree. I ask that fish to swim in a normal river. That's their job, not climbing on the top of a tree. Okay.
That's wise as a CEO. Taking time to really understand people's character saves you and their time and your money and their money. And it's really invaluable to go through the careful recruiting process, because then you're doing them also a favor, So I think that's a good idea, or good insight for people in the company to reduce attrition rate, and boost the morale of the company and the quality of their work. The people who are working for your company, you empower them, you let them control, so they have like an autonomy, they have ownership, they feel ownership of their own work and their craft, so that there is inbuilt loyalty, and they're able to put passion and love in behind the projects that you co-create together.
True, Kate. And I'm not a perfect person, Kate. I actually learned lesson in my life in a very, very hard way. So in my life, when I started the company in the initial days, initial time, when I started recruiting, I used to recruit people on the basis of their skill set, sometimes on the basis of the way they wanted to work. So I sometimes paid many people who are not probably, I shouldn't say this, but it is true. They're not supposed to get that amount of payment. But they started threatening me that they will leave the organization. So I had to increase the salary because I really wanted to continue with those kind of people. And then eventually I learned that this is not the way you should run your startup. So when I took a decision, I just removed the entire those people who became like a kind of group who really, really wanted to extract money from me without giving the proper output to the company. So the company was not growing. So I removed that entire 7-8 people from the company and then replaced them with new kind of people. I took my time of 1.5 years to have those kind of people on board, taking on board. So it is a hard decision. You may say that I acted as a Ravana on that time, because I actually asked 8 people to move from the company because they were creating rumors. They started taking data from the company. They started doing a lot many stuff which is not good for your own startup. So sometimes when you act, maybe people feel you are rude, you are harsh, You are not very cool guy who is not listening to these guys. But to be very honest, I was actually, it was a bag in my back. I was taking that bag without a return for 2 years continuously. I was paying them, increasing their salaries without a reason. So I hardly nowadays take such kind of decisions that I'll be taking such kind of people who is not earning from the company. So I only take people nowadays who wish to join us to earn together. They can earn for the company and the company can earn because of them. That's the kind of concept that we are nowadays following.
Okay, so that story directly ties to the epic story you talked about earlier. When the three people, the king and the Sita and the brother went exile, the woman, what's her name? The woman
Sita.
tried to tempt.
Oh, yeah, Surpanaka.
Surpanaka tried to tempt these two men, but they said no, they stood in their principle like you did. But she played the victim game and used that story to her advantage and put Sita under the hot seat, or made her disadvantages. So the what's important in your real life situation and this epic story and how it's connected is we need to know that we need to know our impact of our action and be responsible of I did this and then that person did that. Be completely transparent so that you're not playing a hero unjustified, and you're not playing victim either. So you're being really objective about your action in the play. And I love that story. And I think that you did a great job of weeding out, like plant your gardening, where when we're creating a company, we're sort of like a gardeners. And if the plant isn't healthy, I have and you have the right to get that out so that the whole garden can survive. That's the story I take away from your real life story. And with the epic, there is continuity.
True. But yeah, Kate, this is not where we are ending. We'll be talking more and more and exploring more and more epical and mythological stories, and we'll be connecting with our real life and the corporate worlds, and probably this is going to help a lot many people. So please, for the audience, stay tuned for our talk show. We'll be coming once again with another structure, another character, discussing that. And feel free to comment. We are not at all touching any religion or any casteism. We are just discussing about the characters in our own way. There may be multiple different ways you can understand a character and a story. It depends on a person, how they can understand it, how they can depict it. So please pray for that kind of wisdom and pray for the universe. Let us connect with each other. We are all brothers, sisters, and probably a connector in some another spiritual world. Sometimes we are soulmates, sometimes we are great friends. So let us connect with each other and explore the world together. Thank you so much, Kate, for coming, and thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge with all the audience as well. See you soon in our next show, Kate and Arijit. Stay tuned. Thank you.
Stay tuned, everyone.